Welcome in. Game time decisions on a Monday night right here on SportsGrid. I'm Kevin Walsh. We got two to go. A lot of NBA action tonight. Two ranked college teams to go through as well. We'll see if there's any ice that pops. But also, the Super Bowl is set in Vegas. We get a rematch from just a few years ago. Kansas City and San Francisco, the Chiefs and the Niners will do battle. Let's get straight to it here and open this thing up. The bracket is nearly complete as the 1 seed in the NFC goes head-to-head against the 3 seed in the AFC. The Chiefs and the Niners. For San Francisco, not the path that people were expecting. Comeback fashion. The knock on the Niners throughout this season is that they would not be able to bounce back when they were down. The game scripts needed to be perfect. They needed to get out and run and hide from all of these football teams. Nope. Against Green Bay, they trailed for the lion's share of that game. And against the Lions, they trailed by 17 at the break. Game was tied, I believe, before we touched the fourth quarter. It was incredible from San Francisco. A lot made about the decision-making on the Detroit Lions. My stance on this is clear. This is exactly who the Lions are. I don't know in what world you trust a 48-yard field goal more than that offense picking up 3 yards, but a lot of people are stuck in their ways, and that will remain true likely forever. And when you go into the game between Kansas City and Baltimore, a low-scoring game. The Chiefs, though, winning 17-10 is not something that can be hand-waved. Kansas City ended up closing as a 4.5-point underdog. Mahomes has relished in this opportunity to be known as a dog. And a few times, even last year heading into that game against Cincinnati, they had moments where they were booked as a dog. Though part of that was the conversation that Mahomes would be immobile in the football game. It obviously didn't spin that way, as our radio audience is here on SportsGrid Sirius XM, channel 159, with you on this Monday night. It is Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. But for Kansas City, even the line at Buffalo was hardly disrespectful. Line went to 3, went immediately down to 2.5. Simple home field advantage booking. But that line against Baltimore opened 3 and continuously grew stronger with the Ravens side. And the Chiefs went out there after forcing a 3-and-out on their opening drive and carved up Baltimore. And then the Ravens responded. A critical 4th down that they went for early in that game. Notice no hand wringing about that one. That's what happens when the 4th down decisions actually work out. Ravens responded. Well, the Chiefs responded once again. And then the Ravens collapsed, but in a way where you would think that this game went 24-7, 31-7, 30. No. Apparently, all the Chiefs needed to do was get up 10, and the Ravens would completely forget who they are and what they do. Lamar Jackson throwing 37 times in this game, 270 passing yards. Lamar goes through the number. A pure raw numbers, he actually outplayed Mahomes, but we all know that isn't true. The volume was stunning. But for the Baltimore Ravens, that is the main takeaway to me. The play calling was unforgivable. And while Kansas City, again, deserves a lot of credit as a 4.5-point dog for going on the road and taking out the top-seeded Chiefs, that offense was shut out in the second half. They did nothing for the entire half until they needed to, fair enough, and connected on a deep one with MVS. The Ravens had moments, fumbles, and multiple times. So many things went wrong for Baltimore, but that's what the Chiefs have been able to do. Capitalize on those mistakes, and they'll take that opportunity all the way to Las Vegas, where they will play in the Super Bowl. These lines are out, and these lines have moved for the Super Bowl in Las Vegas between Kansas City and San Francisco. This started at some spots, I believe, at a 3. Certainly you could grab a 3 if you moved it up a bounce. 2.5. The hypotheticals all said 3. This line almost went down to a pick'em immediately. -1.5 now, depending on where you're looking. That San Francisco money line I've seen touch as low as -112, I believe. Certainly -116. This is going to be a game that is played inside a field goal now from a spread perspective. Kansas City will never touch 3 unless there's random, unforeseen injury news that happens, and I mean -3. Considering at one point the Niners were strong, maybe that same swell of money that pushed Baltimore happens again, though it does feel a touch unlikely considering the conversation now. Let me make this very clear. I understand that this says the Chiefs are the dog. They're not the dog. Don't tell me nobody believes in them. Don't tell me they're being counted out. The Kansas City Chiefs will be ending up probably the single most bet team tickets-wise of the entire NFL season in this football game because it's Mahomes. And maybe that'll work out. Time will tell. But early read for me, well, it's the guy I've been backing all season long in MVP Purdy. Maybe not the regular season MVP, but possibly the Super Bowl MVP. We'll talk to our guests tonight, what they make of this situation. Joe Lisi, Joe Ranieri, as well as Dave Sharapan. Coach James Young will be here as well to go through tonight's NBA slate with a lot of interesting matchups here. Lakers go to Houston. We'll see what LeBron has for an encore and the Lakers as a whole after they played in the game of the season on Saturday in their matchup with the Golden State Warriors, a 144 final in double OT. I believe it was. LeBron with a 30-point triple-double, had 20 rebounds because why not? Games pick out in Houston, though. We'll see how the Lakers look. Cavs getting back Evan Mobley on tonight's slate, catching points at home to this red-hot Clippers team. Knicks go to battle for the first time with this since the Julius Randle injury that was picked up on Saturday at home against the Miami Heat. The Heat have lost 6 in a row. They'll play Phoenix. We'll talk about that in a moment. Boston laying a big number to the Pels, who have now lost 2 straight in blowout fashion. I think that factors in. Wemby, does he beat up on Washington? Time will tell. Both of those teams are coming off of wins, incredibly. A lot of talk about the fact that both Minnesota and Oklahoma City are coming off of losses. To who? Minnesota, last time out, to the Spurs. The Thunder, last time out, lost to the Pistons. Plus, these two teams actually have a sneaky beef starting to come up here with Anthony Edwards. The last time these teams played, called out the whistle that SGA was getting. I think that requires both of these superstars to step up tonight. Giannis goes head-to-head with Jokic, and Embiid makes his big return since he missed the Denver game, so he can go out there and give Portland 45, 10, and 6. We'll find out. Quick pick here. Look, folks, Kevin Durant. Over 22.5 points. You might think this is a mistake. It's not. It has climbed a bit. 23.5, 24.5, I don't care. First time all season KD has missed 25-plus points in 3 consecutive games. It's only happened once before where he had missed it twice in a row. It's Kevin Durant. We'll get you the rest of the stuff throughout the show, but Joe Lisi's up next.
The Chargers have the 5th pick in the National Football League draft. There's a lot of different like roads that they could take with this pick. And for the record as well, there's a few sports books out there already that already have next year's Super Bowl numbers up. The Chargers are like 30-1. So there's a lot of work to do.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices. And we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev.
Go run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
So right now we saw a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division
I
favorite.
don't care if they win because all we care about is the money, baby. The money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
This will not end well in Milwaukee. They will flame out. There will be problems, and we will see what happens of who's the next domino to go. Does Giannis just sign an extension, ask out after a year? Do they move on from Dame? Or do they start blowing up some of the other guys, Brooke Lopez, Bobby Portis, so on and so forth? It'll be worth watching.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
We got one of the best games of the year, Warren, on Sunday night as the Chiefs are now headed back to a 6th championship game. An extremely fun, clean game, and then the hijinks ensue.
And I thought it was just irresponsible for him to take that deep shot into the end zone. I talked a lot about it on X. I thought that they should have hit that underneath route to Diggs. He was wide open. It would have been easily a first down.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
He feels like he's got unfinished business, right? He won the national championship, did what he said he wanted to do, going back to Ann Arbor.
And, he coached, I think, with the Raiders as an assistant, and then got the job with the Niners, and then went to title games, went to Super Bowls, lost to his brother, and I think you're right, unfinished business, go back, try to win a Super Bowl.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
73 points for Luka Doncic. Joel Embiid scored 70 and somebody beat him in the same week. That's incredible.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, the only streaming sports betting network. Tips, info, and insights to up your IQ. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Back with you right here on Sports. I mean, we're nip and tuck tonight. All right. Let's get Joe Lisi in here immediately to save the people from. Now, if I'm guessing that shot's got something to do with you, that's my guess. How are you, sir? Joe Lisi live here on SportsGrid.
Yeah, what's going on? I think it looks fantastic. We look like twins. What are you talking about?
Yeah, many have said that to us. That's true. We're gonna get stopped in Vegas a bunch. Be like, listen, you got is that? I'm going to be like, no.
Great minds think alike. Oh,
well,
giving you a little props.
I was trying to have great minds think alike. You blew me and David Montgomery off.
Well, it was a
what
great
do you have to
pick.
Say for yourself?
Listen, I'll give credit. Great pick on Montgomery. I was right on Jameson Williams. The only problem was the kid does it on the ground and not through the air. Can we get him out in space? I mean, and I was right about Lamar. Lamar, 250, 275. OBJ, 3 receptions, not 4. He dropped one at the end. I mean, I was on point, too. Yeah. First of all, Kev, how they don't get an OBJ involved in the first half of that ball game. I mean, just get the guy involved. Terrible coaching.
Well, the coaching was abysmal, Joe, and we can start there. Look, because I also want to get some of the early Super Bowl thoughts from you, but we have a lot of time. We're going to have some specials over the weekend. We're going to have all week out in Las Vegas. But a lot of people's takeaway from Chiefs-Ravens appears to be can't beat Mahomes. They didn't score in the second half. Their opponent scored 10. I think that's an outrageous takeaway, personally. I think that you can either decide to give the Chiefs defense a lot of credit or look, and I don't, people can say, you're not giving them enough credit. I don't really care. The takeaway for me is the Ravens play calling was unacceptable. I know people think I'm rash with this stuff. I would be evaluating Todd Monken's job. I understand how good he was all season long. That was nearly unforgivable, Joe, what they did in that football game. We know the Chiefs have some vulnerability on the ground. They came out hot throwing the football in spots that they didn't need to. I understand the ground wasn't working. The ground was. The Gus Edwards finishes with 3 carries. The running back position finishes with 6. It was an abysmal decision-making from Baltimore for all 4 quarters.
I thought so too, Kevin. I give credit to the Kansas City defense, right? Baltimore's defense made second-half adjustments. The offense didn't. And I understand the approach of being aggressive throwing the football. The problem that I have is, why are you zoning in and just zeroing in on Zay Flowers? I mean, you didn't utilize Justice Hill. He had a pretty good game in the backfield. You could have utilized the passing attack to open up the run. And when the game was on the line, here's the problem. Tell me if I'm wrong. You're watching that game play out in the second half. was there any sense of urgency out of Baltimore? It's like, you know what? We'll get a 3 and out. We'll get the ball back. No, we'll get another 3 and out. No aggressiveness until really 8 minutes left in that ball game. And by then, it was too late. They get the fumble on the goal line, completely changes the momentum, and then that's it. They played right into Kansas City's hands in the sense of Kansas City wanted to play that game into the 20s. They got exactly what they asked for, and they pulled it out.
Yeah, look, it's one of those things, and here's why I struggle to give the Chiefs defense probably as much credit as others want. They got to Lamar, they pressured Lamar, but they ran for 5.1 yards per carry, and Lamar threw 7.4 yards per pass attempt, right? Just there was no balance for the Ravens. And again, it's funny, Joe, but if I would have told you, hey, we're critiquing the balance for Baltimore's offense post-loss, you would have said, well, they didn't throw it enough. They threw it way too much, and it was really surprising to see it play out. Niners-Lions, you called for the upset. It looked great. Everybody is spending today blaming decisions to not kick field goals. If I were to critique a decision, it would be not going for a touchdown before halftime. This is who the Lions are. Ben Johnson's the greatest offensive coordinator in the league. We'll call a play that picks up 3 yards. And if he does call the right play, then I'd like to see Josh Reynolds catch a football then. Quite frankly, I didn't mind any of Dan Campbell's decisions. Where do you land on it?
I have a problem with the first one. The first 4th and 3, not the second 4th and 3. And the reason why is that was the possession in terms of the third quarter. You always want to put pressure on the home team, right? The 3 possessions is still a different animal than 2. And, they were in field goal range. You take the field goal. Now, it was a great play call. And Josh Reynolds did drop the football. I get that. But in that type of situation, kick the field goal, go up 17, put the pressure on Brock Purdy. They score a touchdown. You're still up by 2 scores. That's the problem I had. When they're down 3, you go for broke. You're aggressive at that particular point because you're trying to get the momentum back. But again, if I would have told you, Kev, that Detroit had a 17-point first half lead and that Montgomery runs for 95 and Gibbs adds another 45 and they're averaging well over 3.5, 4 yards per carry, you would have said, you know what? They lose that ball game, San Francisco. Turnovers kill them. You got turnovers on the road. When you lose the turnover battle on the road, it is so critical, and that's what happened. But credit Brock Purdy, credit the defense. They made the plays. Detroit didn't in the second half. They were a young team, and it looked like that.
And I'll tell you what I didn't love. 3rd and 4, that first time when he didn't kick the field. Hey, I love running the football there. How about we figure out if it's Gibbs or Montgomery averaging 6 yards a pop instead of Amon-Ra St. Brown up the middle? You want to do a jet sweep or something? Amon-Ra St. Brown up in between the tackles is what he was calling.
He's a $1.65. He's a $1.65. I don't know.
I would have handed it off to Penei Sewell before I would have handed it off to Amon-Ra.
What would Bobby Slowick have done in that situation?
Little play action, deep shot, Jamison Williams over the middle probably, if I had to guess.
You see that play in the fourth quarter? He was streaking down the sidelines. He was basically naked. He was streaking right down there. Unbelievable.
Yeah, he looked good. So I know I texted you today. I'm not kidding. I was thinking about this last night. I go, I don't know what Lisi's going to do with the side here. If the Ravens would have advanced and played the Niners, and I'm just saying because I know your tendencies for who you like this year, right? If the Lions would have beat the Niners, played the Chiefs, it's Lions. If the Ravens would have beat the Chiefs, played the Niners, it's Ravens. If it was Ravens-Lions, I don't know where you would have landed. And Chiefs-Niners, I don't know what jumps out to you here.
I lean to the 49ers. Again, I just lean to because I think they have more offensive weapons, and I think they're a little bit better defensively than the Chiefs. But that's just me. Here's the problem that the Chiefs have, and we talked about it all season. The only consistency in the playoffs has been Travis Kelce and Pacheco with the rushing attack. There is no secondary receiver. Say what you will about Rice, but he's got 8 receptions for 42 yards. Everything's dink and dunk. Short to intermediate. Yeah. I mean, Valdez-Scantling, a critical breakdown in terms of that pass, but Mecole Hardman a no-show. There is no Sky Moore. Who do they go to? So I just think that San Francisco is more balanced at every level. Kittle, Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, McCaffrey, and as long as Brock Purdy plays within the scheme and he's done that, they're going to win this ball game, in my opinion.
Yeah, look, they are. They're going to stay. There's not going to be anything that changes me like in the Niners. It's going to be, as always, it's figuring out the ways to attack. That total at 47.5 gets interesting. I think it's going to. I'll just say this, man. If you like the Chiefs, you have to like the over. I really believe that. I could be off base there. We'll see where the Kansas City folks land, but I would imagine you like the Chiefs. You like that team getting into the 30s.
Yeah, but they haven't done that consistently. It's 3 games since
I know
the
that,
Chiefs.
but people keep telling themselves that they have. That's the problem.
Yeah, but that's the problem. San Francisco is the more consistent team, averaging 30 points per game. The Kansas City Chiefs have 3 games. Chicago, they have the first game against the Chargers, and they have the road game against Las Vegas, where they scored over 30. Every game for them is 24, 27 at tops. If the 49ers score 30, they're going to have to get at least 28 to 30, right? Think of it that way.
I agree. Yet, if you listen to the way conversations go from yesterday's game, apparently the Chiefs won 35 to 28. We see great stuff. We'll talk coaches up next.
The Chargers have the 5th pick in the National Football League draft. There's a lot of different roads that they could take with this pick. And for the record as well, there's a few sports books out there that already have next year's Super Bowl numbers up. The Chargers are like 30-1. So there's a lot of work to do.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices, and we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev.
Go run, run, run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
Right now, he's a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division
I
favorite.
don't care if they win, because all we care about is the money, baby, the money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
This will not end well in Milwaukee. They will flame out. There will be problems, and we will see what happens of who's the next domino to go. Does Giannis, who just signed an extension, ask out after a year? Do they move on from Dame? Or do they start blowing up some of the other guys, Brooke Lopez, Bobby Portis, so on and so forth? It'll be worth watching.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
We got one of the best games of the year, Warren, on Sunday night as the Chiefs are now headed back to a 6th championship game. An extremely fun, clean game, and then the hijinks ensue.
And I thought it was just irresponsible for him to take that deep shot into the end zone. I talked a lot about it on X. I thought that they should have hit that underneath route to Diggs. He was wide open. It would have been easily a first down.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
He feels like he's got unfinished business, right? He won the national championship, did what he said he wanted to do going back to Ann Arbor.
And, he coached, I think, with the Raiders as an assistant and then got the job with the Niners and then went to title games, went to Super Bowls, lost to his brother. And I think you're right, unfinished business, go back, try to win a Super Bowl.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
73 points for Luka Doncic. Joel Embiid scored 70 and somebody beat him in the same week. That's incredible.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, the only streaming sports betting network. Tips, info, and insights to up your IQ. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Back with you right here on SportsGrid. I'm Kevin Walsh. It is a Monday night, and the association has a lot for us to dabble in. JY, Coach James Young with us. How you feeling, Coach?
Hey, man, listen, Kevin, I was thinking about you. I came on Thursday, and JY said, Detroit plus 7.5. And then I gave my boy Anthony Ferguson a shout-out. And here comes Anthony Ferguson with his first catch of the year.
Wow.
And I thought that he was going to score, kid up. I was getting a little excited about Anthony Ferguson. So, I'm calm now, but if Anthony Ferguson would have scored, JY would have been out of bounds today on his appearance.
He was 12-1, so I looked into it. I don't forget. It would have been remarkable. He then came out the next play. But also, I mean, you know what? In the same way the NBA needs to fine Embiid for missing that game in Denver, I think there's a fine coming down. You mean you come into this segment opening up with football talk? Outrageous. You know what? I mean, it's really out of control. So, JY fine. We'll have our SportsGrid inside reporters tweet out the dollar amount soon enough. Let's start here, Coach. Julius Randle injured over the weekend. It looks like it's not going to be as severe as they anticipated here, weeks as opposed to months. But the Knicks go to battle without him tonight and OG Anunoby. Luckily, it's a soft landing spot. They are playing none other than the Charlotte Hornets without LaMelo Ball. The line right now settling at -9, New York on the road.
Yeah, Kevin, this thing is bounced all over the place. It was 8.5 this morning. It went all the way up to 12 and I think 10.5 without LaMelo, and then it just came back down a couple of points. Now that OG's out with the inflammation of the elbow, but this is a team that New York D is playing better. And here's what I was going to say. They're going to be worse offensively, but they're going to be better defensively without Randle. And you know where I'm going with this. He's had a great year, very mercurial, kind of like all over the place. When he's hot, he plays great defense. When he's not playing well offensively, he doesn't play D. The Knicks are 12-2 since OG trade, but this is more about the fact that Charlotte is a mess. You know, Scary Terry's gone. Obviously, LaMelo's out. Bridges is rumored to be moved. Hayward may get moved. Nick Richards can be moved. New York team that's only lost one game to a team under 500. I know no Randall. I know no OG Anunoby. I mean, what is Brunson's points from now? 32.5 tonight? I don't know what it is. But the Knicks get the win and the cover tonight in Charlotte.
So I want to say, as far as the Hornets side of this goes, I was going to be on LaMelo Ball tonight, over 24.5 points. It's an ugly one. The line was working against me. But the trend of what LaMelo has done without Terry Rozier still existed, even if he had missed it twice in a row. But because I was on that prop in the game against Houston, and look, they got absolutely smashed in that basketball game, but I gave that game more attention than most, I assume. If you notice, LaMelo Ball only played 23 minutes. Miles Bridges played 36. LaMelo's minutes was not because of wild foul trouble, and it was not. He basically got benched in the game. And this is not the first time that Steve Clifford has basically decided, you know what, you don't work for me, I'm done with this. LaMelo's efficiency has been pretty horrific for a little bit now. It is 1,000% time for these two sides to part ways. LaMelo is far too good for this awful basketball team to ever be benched. You could more justify him playing Tom Thibodeau 40-plus minutes a night. And, JY, I think what we're seeing from LaMelo, I'm not giving up on the talent, but he's clearly not good enough to be the best player on a championship-level team, obviously. I'd love to see what LaMelo looks like playing with, I don't know, maybe one all-star player? One guy that you think could make an all-star game? It's never happened in his career before. And I know the new contract hasn't kicked in yet, but I still truly believe that at some point these sides are going to be parting ways. Maybe they continue to delay the inevitable, but this fit in Charlotte does not work. I'll move on because I know you got a lot of stuff here that we still have to get to. The Clippers go to Cleveland. Both of these teams red hot. Who do you trust?
Yeah, and I'm going to go with the Clippers. But before I say that, really quick, how the hell does Steve Clifford still have a job? Like, can someone explain that to me? Like, what video evidence does he have? Because he should be long gone. He shouldn't have been hired in the first place. You should have went with a guy like Kenny Atkinson. I digress. I'm sorry. On to the Clippers and the Cavs game, which is, you're right, a fascinating game between two teams that are playing as well as anybody in the NBA. But, man, I after I saw what the Clippers did to Boston, I can't get in front of that. Like, Kev, so I'm going to take the Clippers on the money line. I think what you'll have is a Clippers team that is really, really connected defensively. I know Cleveland's been hot. They've been playing better. But this is a whole different animal. A team, I know we joke about it, but Kevin, let's be honest. I don't think there's a team playing better basketball than the Clippers right now. Give me the Clippers on the money line on the road tonight.
I'm on the Cavs in this spot here, JY. I think there's at least value on this team because they are playing well. They get Evan Mobley back. I understand it's a minutes restriction for Evan Mobley, but I'm going to give the Cavs a good look here at home. What I will say works in your favor. They've been a very poor home dog. Look, it's a light line, but usually when someone's laying points in Cleveland, it's with good reason. Another money line shot you're looking at is in South Beach. What do you have here with the Heat and the Suns?
I know no Nurkic tonight, but the Miami Heat, Kevin, we keep waiting, right? Like we keep waiting, and they got, Terry Rozier, and they look disjointed, right? Out of sync. I think they lost 6 games in a row. I know this is a back-to-back, but, for the Suns, but let's be honest. It's going from, Orlando to Miami. So it's a very short flight. I don't even know. I don't know if the flight is 30 minutes, right? So it's a quick flight, quick turnaround. The Suns are starting to play better. Big threes there. I can't get in front of Miami right now. I just can't do it. I'm going to go ahead and take the Suns on the money line. I think they steal this game on the road.
This is a spot, JY, where I think you're going to get a desperate Miami, but the Phoenix Suns have 2 consecutive horrific losses, no? I mean, the Pacers' collapse was outrageous. Mm-hmm. And then for Orlando, they scored, 2 points in the final 8 minutes of that basketball game? That was really poor. So these are 2 teams that are going to be looking to step up here. I'm not on the side in this game. I'm curious, what do you make of the Devin Booker tear that he's on, JY, averaging over 40 points a game? Over 40 points a game in his last 6.
Man, this ain't the 1990s. You get 40 points a game. Joker's getting 70. Luka's getting 73. He's been on an absolute tear, but Kevin, 44 and 62, and you lose both. Like, that's what I take from it. You lose both. So what's going on here? And especially the Orlando game where you lose by 15. So yeah, of course, he had a phenomenal game, but still was a -4 with a 44-point performance. If you look at his performance that he had 62, against Indiana, what was his plus minus in that game, right? So I think that's the thing that you have to look at, +1. So at the end of the day, he's scoring great. You got to get better play out of some of your other guys. But to me, you're not winning. Like, so what if you scored 40 or 60? You lost. That should be the big thing. They lost both games. So do they have to adjust how they play, or do other guys need to start to step their game up so they're not so reliant on Devin to score that many points?
We've got LeBron in Houston tonight. Had an amazing performance and an absolute classic with Steph over the weekend. What do you think he has for an encore?
Is Dillon Brooks playing tonight? I think so. LeBron James over 1.5 made threes tonight. I'm going there. LeBron's gone over 5 straight games. 6 out of 13 last matchups versus Dillon Brooks. One thing to remember, he's averaging 4.7 attempts from 3 in those 13 games. So he's getting the shot volume. So he's getting there, and I think he's shooting the ball well from 3. And I think this is the way that LeBron's got to play a little bit now, because he just can't attack the basket or reckless abandonment. And listen, the Rockets also give up their bottom 10 and 3-point attempts allowed this year. So the shots will be there. Kevin, I think he knocks down 2 of them.
I've been waiting for a certain LeBron number. It appeared, and I was hoping it wouldn't. I am the least unbiased man in the history of sports media, and we will handle it when we get there. JY, Duke tonight, what do you expect in their game against Vatek?
Listen, that was an absolute barn burner, and I'll say this. Referees, do yourself a favor. Swallow the damn whistle at the end of the game. I know a foul's a foul, but swallow your whistle. Let the kids decide the game. Big win by Duke. against Clemson in the waning seconds. I think even though they're 1-6-1 against the spread the last 8 games, all of those games, Kevin, they were favored by 7.5 points or greater. I think they lean on that tough win against Clemson. They go on the road, Duke, -3.5.
How about it? The Blue Devils there. Love what I saw from Jared McCain, but Tyrese Proctor's really been coming on for this team lately, JY. And we know what they're going to get out of Filipowski. He has to avoid foul trouble. But if that backcourt, right, Roach, of course, can they really start to settle in here in the heart of ACC play? It's going to be huge for this team.
Well, here's the thing, folks. I want people to understand, as great as you have big men across the country, Zach Edey, Filipowski, Hunter Dickinson, so on and so forth. Kevin, you know it and I know it. Guard play dictates March. And if these guards, McCain and Roach, Proctor, continue to play better, right? And Roach is shooting 45% from 3. McCain 41.6%. Proctor at 37.3. They make threes, Kevin. It becomes way harder to stop Filipowski, and that team can make a run in March if the guards step up their game.
All right, great stuff from Coach. We're going to have him join us inside our second hour. I'll go through my card next here on Game Time Decisions.
The Chargers have the 5th pick in the National Football League draft. There's a lot of different like roads that they could take with this pick. And for the record as well, there's a few sports books out there already that already have next year's Super Bowl numbers up. The Chargers are like 30-1. So there's a lot of work to do.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices. And we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev.
Go run, run, run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
So right now, he's a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division favorite.
I don't care if they win because all we care about is the money, baby. The money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
This will not end well in Milwaukee. They will flame out. There will be problems, and we will see what happens of who's the next domino to go. Does Giannis, who just signed an extension, ask out after a year? Do they move on from Dame? Or do they start blowing up some of the other guys, Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis, so on and so forth? It'll be worth watching.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
We got one of the best games of the year, Warren, on Sunday night as the Chiefs are now headed back to a 6th championship game. An extremely fun, clean game, and then the hijinks ensue.
And I thought it was just irresponsible for him to take that deep shot into the end zone. I talked a lot about it on X. I thought that they should have hit that underneath route to Diggs. He was wide open. It would have been easily a first down.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
He feels like he's got unfinished business, right? He won the national championship, did what he said he wanted to do, going back to Ann Arbor.
And, you know, he coached, I think, with the Raiders as an assistant and then got the job with the Niners and then went to title games, went to Super Bowls, lost to his brother. And I think you're right, unfinished business, go back, try to win a Super Bowl.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
73 points for Luka Doncic. Joel Embiid scored 70 and somebody beat him in the same week. That's incredible.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, the only streaming sports betting network. Tips, info, and insights to up your IQ. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We are live on Sports Grid. It is game time decisions. And I've often said I am the most unbiased man in the history of sports media. People think it's a joke. Well, then let me prove it. Once again, a pick that nobody thinks that I would be on because of who I am, what I believe in, LeBron James, under 25.5 points. I mean, right then you should say, whoa. I mean, this guy's really, well, is he doing this just to prove a point? There's no way he has research that backs this up. False. LeBron's coming off of a 30-point game. He was absolutely brilliant in the matchup against Golden State. Best game of the season so far. I understand the irony that it could very well be two teams that don't make the playoffs. That's not the point. It was LeBron's 12th 30-point game this season, which means he has 11 games coming off of a 30-point performance. Only twice has LeBron scored over 25 in the follow-up game. That is a 9-2 under trend. He averages 20.5 points per game when he is coming off of scoring 30. I'll read them through. 24, 18, 16, 37, 17, 30, 24, 23, 16, 12, 25. There are more games, significantly more games, where LeBron didn't hit 20 in this stretch than went over this prop. And he's never done it in a follow-up game on the road. I get it. And JY mentioned in his breakdown the idea that Dylan Brooks is on the other side of the court, and there's some worry that LeBron steps up for that. This is a night that Anthony Davis, hey, how about you figure it out, pal? I get it. AD played double OT as well. LeBron did enough. It's just, and these are probably the spots where you notice that he is now in year 21, right? That he is soon to be a 40-year-old. Is that LeBron in the regular season isn't giving you 30-plus back-to-back nights. He's done it twice. I don't believe he does it again. Give me LeBron James under 25.5 points. Shout out me. I did it again. Let's go through the rest of this card here. I was going to be on LaMelo Ball. Unfortunately, he does not make the bell. But Kevin Durant does. We mentioned it over the 22.5 points. Kevin Durant, in his last 3 games, 12 points, 20 points, 15 points. And the notion for people, or seemingly the books, is that's just who KD is. No, it's not. You know what KD, the 2 games before this 3-game run? 40 and 43. He is still Kevin Durant. I mean, I want to play this guy through every alt number under the sun, but I cannot believe they are giving us a chance to win a bet at 23. I know it's moved up to 23.5. Bet it there. 24, bet it there. What are we doing? I'm on the 25. I'm on the 30-plus for KD tonight. It is Kevin Durant. They need him to step up. We know that. Devin Booker's been going wild. That's great. You're telling me these guys can't go wild together? They absolutely can. Well, what about the fact that it's a back-to-back? Kevin Durant's played 5 games without rest. He scored 30 or more in 4 out of the 5, 27 in the game that he did not hit 30. So I'm not worried about that. He's only had 1 prior stretch this year where he failed to hit 25 in consecutive games. It happened once. It was 2 straight. It's now happened 3 in a row. This is the new NBA? KD averages 22 a night. Stop it. Don't get involved in Kevin Durant here. We're playing him over 22.5. I don't know. Play this up to 27.5. Alt it. Lisi style, everything. Go. That's how we're on KD. We're also on Giannis 30-plus. Look, Giannis, first of all, is 12-6 on this number on the road. For me, it is a narrative that fits exactly what I would think about the Milwaukee Bucks. On the road, things are harder to come by, so their best player steps up in a major way. Damian Lillard, who has been, let's be honest, disappointing in Milwaukee relative to the hype, the conversation, the trade package, as better at home as opposed to on the road. Giannis has hit this in 7 of his last 8 road games. 3 of the last 5 he's played against Jokic, and both times those games were in Denver. Embiid and Jokic is the conversation, and one that we're about to have in a moment here because there's some movement on that. But in no way is Giannis removed from the in fact, it probably should actually be Jokic versus Giannis as the conversation. Because Giannis is the one with multiple MVPs already and a finals MVP just to match Jokic stride for stride. We entered last season, and the best player in the world, by the consensus, was Giannis. Then Jokic went and won Finals MVP and passed him. But now Giannis doesn't even appear a part of that conversation in the same degree. Giannis is the type of guy who steps up, hears all that noise to get this. But when sometimes I do the 30 plus, I pay minus 135 and I don't mind. This was minus 120. Okay? Make sure you get the best of the number there. Let's get Giannis for 30 plus. Where else are we? We have two sides tonight. I'm on the Cavs plus 1.5. Look, I don't like the Clippers anywhere near as much as everybody else. Also, my Clippers, the Clippers postseason is different than Clippers regular season. That'll all work itself out. This isn't as much about the Clips. It's more about the fact that this Cavs team has been playing incredibly solid basketball and brings back one of their most valuable pieces in Evan Mobley, and I don't think it's being factored into the line at all. The Clippers just went to Boston and caught somewhere between 6.5 to 8.5 points. Now, it was on the second leg of a back-to-back. Boston, though, was not 100% healthy in the basketball game. Let's call it 7.5. Let's say the books elevated that spread by 2 points due to the back-to-back nature, right? That would suggest that we had a 5.5-point line under normal circumstances there. Tonight, it's Clippers minus 1.5. That would suggest the Celts, on a neutral, are 7 full points better than Cleveland with their caliber of basketball. Donovan Mitchell's been brilliant, and Evan Mobley back in the lineup? I don't believe that at all. I think this is an overinflated line. I'm giving Cleveland their due at home here against this red-hot Clippers team. I'm also taking a look on the Pels. Now, you heard the deep breath. We're getting 9. So the Pels had an early 5-game losing streak where through the first 10 games, I think they were 4-6. They weren't great. But since then, this has been a difficult team to rout, and it's typically come with bounce-back spots. They lost that still crazy. The in-season tournament semifinal game, they lost by $1 billion to the Lakers. The follow-up was beating Minnesota by 14 points at home as a 4.5-point favorite. They lost another game to the Clippers by 16. They followed it up by beating the Kings by 33 on the road. No Giannis catching 44.5. They go to Denver. They lose by double digits. They turn around and beat the Mavs by double digits in their next game as a 5.5-point dog. They lost to Phoenix at home by 14. Their next game, they put up a $153 on Utah. All of those bounce-back spots were there. Then the last 2 games happened. They brought OKC into their building at home. No Giannis. They got cracked by 24. Then they had to go second leg of a back-to-back to Milwaukee, who was off a loss and lost by 24 again. But now Bucks were laying 3.5. This line is 9. And maybe I'm going to get caught here using too many Celtics numbers as kind of the stepping point there, because the books do believe Boston is way better. But this much better in this clear and obvious bounce-back spots for the Pels where they need to step up and give you A-plus effort tonight. Admittedly, I wish it wasn't Boston off of their second home loss of the year. 2 home losses to 2 top teams in the West. It's not a great look. Maybe they drill the Pels. I think this number is overinflated. We're taking the points. And then lastly, a total to the over. Love this. Maybe my favorite bet of the night here. It's Kevin Durant, but this is my favorite bet outside of KD. Thunder Timberwolves over 222.5. These teams played a week ago. The total was 229.5. I know the game didn't feature 200 points. You do not drop total 7 points because of what happened. That is automatic value. Oklahoma City is the best team to the over after a loss, 10-3 on the year. Timberwolves are the second best team to the over as a road dog, 6-2 on the season. 223 this number is, excuse me. It was 222.5, but it's 223, and that's what I played it at. Give me the over in this basketball game. Plus, I love a lot of the offensive narratives here. Ant complaining about the calls SGA gets. You're going to get the best out of Shea tonight. And Ant has to step up then on the other side. I adore it. I can't wait. Let's talk MVP for a moment. So I mentioned, this weekend, Joel Embiid and the Philadelphia 76ers were going to Denver for the rematch of a game that happened a week ago today. I was incredibly excited for it. The NBA had a great slate drawn up this weekend, primetime games. Started in the Garden, went to Denver, closed late night now in Golden State. And we were going to get the Embiid-Jokic rematch. Can Jokic kind of, get his back? How does Embiid look on the road? This could kind of maybe be the MVP performance. And out of nowhere, Joel Embiid misses the game. Wasn't on the injury report. Will likely end up seeing the Sixers get fined for it. The Sixers ended up punting the whole game. No Maxey, no Tobias Harris. It was pathetic. And it is very odd because I am someone, look, I hate the 65-game minimum. I think it's ridiculous because this stuff figures itself out, but we'll go through it. I don't like the 65-game minimum, and there are a lot of players that miss time who I believe missed that time because they actually are not healthy enough to play, right? Your Stephs and your Kawhis and your LeBrons, I shouldn't even put them in the category because of the age, but these guys miss time because they are not healthy. Joel Embiid had been playing fine. It was not the second leg of a back-to-back, and then all of a sudden can't show up to this game, and nobody else on Philly plays. What is the benefit of this? Just to not give Denver the satisfaction? The Sixers, it's probably a tough game. Let's just punt it and pummel Portland on Monday. This wasn't even the front end of a back-to-back. I have no idea the justification for this because it is impossible. It is impossible to look at this and think that the Pacers, who did not have Embiid on the injury report, an hour before saw him in war. I was like, this doesn't really make any sense. He's got a brand new injury we haven't heard about. It just looks crazy. But here's what ends up happening, right? Before all this play, we have Embiid 2-1 to win the MVP because his number comes back because he misses the game. Jokic is right there, though, but he missed the game, so Jokic comes up a little bit. Well, now, all of a sudden, Embiid doesn't play tonight. Look what happens. Your latest odds to win the NBA's MVP award. Now it's Nikola Jokic as the clear-cut favorite, plus 125. SGA in the middle, plus 360. Embiid back to plus 430. I was told there's only 5 remaining games for Embiid to qualify. Embiid is not showing he actually wants this award. You know what I mean? If Embiid was dead set on winning the award, or he's too injured. It's one of the two, right? If Embiid was dead set on winning the award, he plays in Denver by his damn self, okay? And plays in Portland tonight, or he is too injured. I know we made this point earlier, and I was like, but maybe he can still win it. What happened this weekend, I think, put such a negative light. Because now there's this, he's ducking Jokic conversation. I really do believe Embiid will miss out, whether it's through the games or through the conference. It's going to be hard for Embiid to play 67 and justify being more valuable than guys who are going to play 77 games. It's going to be difficult for that to happen regardless. That's why I say the 65-game minimum is stupid anyway, because the stuff works itself out. Embiid wasn't going to play 62 games. Guys were going to play 15 more and still win the award. Point is, Embiid now dropping odds will continue to drop. We'll be right back. It's Game Time Decisions on SportsGrid.
The Chargers have the 5th pick in the National Football League draft. There's a lot of different roads that they could take with this pick. And for the record as well, there's a few sports books out there that already have next year's Super Bowl numbers up. The Chargers are like 30-1. So there's a lot of work to do.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices, and we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev.
Go run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
So right now, he's a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division favorite.
I don't care if they win, because all we care about is the money, baby. The money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
This will not end well in Milwaukee. They will flame out, there will be problems, and we will see what happens of who's the next domino to go. Does Giannis, who just signed an extension, ask out after a year? Do they move on from Dame? Or do they start blowing up some of the other guys, Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis, so on and so forth? It'll be worth watching.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
We got one of the best games of the year, Warren, on Sunday night as the Chiefs are now headed back to a sixth championship game. An extremely fun, clean game, and then the hijinks ensue.
And I thought it was just irresponsible for him to take that deep shot into the end zone. I talked a lot about it on X. I thought that they should have hit that underneath route to Diggs. He was wide open. It would have been easily a first down.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
He feels like he's got unfinished business, right? He won the national championship, did what he said he wanted to do, going back to Ann Arbor.
And, he coached, I think, with the Raiders as an assistant, and then got the job with the Niners, and then went to title games, went to Super Bowls, lost to his brother, and I think you're right, unfinished business, go back, try to win a Super Bowl.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
73 points for Luka Doncic. Joel Embiid scored 70 and somebody beat him in the same week. That's incredible.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, the only streaming sports betting network. Tips, info, and insights to up your IQ. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Back right here on SportsGrid, Kevin Walsh with you on this Monday night. A lot for us to go through. I want to talk through Thunder Timberwolves here. So I love this over at 223. We just talked about that and all the reasons why. It is up, though, and someone just texted me about this because it's up to 225.5. So with stuff like this, right, because it gets, and I'm the same way, where someone has something at 223, it goes 225.5, you're like, I might have missed it. Because the odds that this game lands 223, 224, or 225 is obviously minimal, but if it happens, it gets a little frustrating. But I'm not going to tell you, I don't like the over anymore. I think this game could be very explosive tonight into the 240s, NBA high-scoring style. I think the Thunder could really, really push on this number. But I've mentioned a few times some of the narrative that I think does come into this game when you talk about SGA and Anthony Edwards. And what I'd love to find, and this game starts at 8, so I'm almost going to reach out to you, the people, and see if you can kind of help me. Can we find Ant plus SGA props tonight? And I don't mean like Ant for 25, SGA for 30. I don't mean each guy for 30. I'm talking about, is there a head? I see head-to-head player props, but they don't have them there either. Is there a way that we can get, I was hoping maybe FanDuel or DraftKings is where I was looking, would have like, these guys that combine for 60, combine for 70, and look for stuff, combines the PRA. That would be stuff that I would love to look for tonight here, as I really am buying into this game that I already like the over in, and I think now the two best players in this game have a little bit of narrative head-to-head beef here and reason to look to pop off. That is something that I would keep tabs on here with these guys tonight. SGA 5-1 for his 40 spot. Anthony Edwards for his plus 460 to get to 35 here in this game. That game is going to tip at 8. We're going to come back, though. We're going to get a Lakers-Rockets same-game parlay and put some eyes on the Super Bowl odds between the Niners and the Chiefs in less than a minute. Live on SportsGrid, I'm Kevin Walsh with you here on this Monday night. It is Game Time Decisions, and we're going to help you with a Game Time decision, a little same-game parlay from Davis Maddock on tonight's matchup with the Rockets and the Lakers.
All right, guys, we are back for another same-game parlay over on the FanDuel Sportsbook. After a busy NFL weekend, we are returning to the NBA. We are going to begin with the Los Angeles Lakers, who are traveling to play at the Houston Rockets. We are going to take the Lakers on the spread. It's been jumping around all day, anywhere from 1 to 2, kind of both ways. Doesn't matter. We're taking the Lakers on the spread. That's the first leg of our same-game parlay. Then we are going to take the under on 229 points in this game. The Lakers are a very stout defense. They limit opponents to the 28th most three-pointers taken per game, and they themselves on offense are dead last in the entire NBA in three-pointers taken per game. The Rockets also are bottom third in the league in three-pointers taken per game. These are just teams that do not do their damage on the offensive end. Both of these teams are trying to be good defensive players. And then, of course, we are going to round it out, not by taking LeBron James this time. We are actually going to take Anthony Davis's point prop here. We're going to take AD to score 25 or more points in this game. He just generally does that when they win games. AD is actually having one of his better seasons on offense right now, as he is primarily transitioned to playing center. This three-leg same-game parlay is going to give us plus 504 odds. Lakers on the spread, under 229, and Anthony Davis to score 25 or more points.
Great stuff there from Davis Maddock, helping us out here with some Lakers and Rocket stuff. One thing you'll notice is that plus 504 price, the under with AD's over is why you get that nice number. If you were to take the over in this game, the totals are, it's like the same juice basically, right? But FanDuel knows when you're doing a very correlated parlay. All these things do. They know when it's correlated. They know when it's not. You get a lot of value if you're willing to take a player over with the under in the game. It absolutely jumps off the page. So the Super Bowl is set. You have the Niners and the Chiefs. Right now, the Niners are 1.5-point favorite, total 47.5. Super Bowl MVP odds, Mahomes plus 130, Brock Purdy plus 210, CMC plus 480. Then you get Kelsey 20-1, Debo plus 380, Pacheco 40, and Ayuk is the last guy underneath 50-1 at 47-1. I've talked about the Super Bowl MVP a bit. I'm already invested in Brock Purdy. I will say the game against Detroit that we just watched, what was the only thing that's a little concerning? So I think Brock Purdy was clearly the MVP of that game for the San Francisco 49ers. McCaffrey wasn't that good in the game. He did a great job finishing off drives with touchdowns, but he was not excellent in that game. I know Brock was bad in the first half, but he was brilliant as that game went along. But if Kyle Shanahan is going to run the football every time inside the 5, the Eli Mitchell touchdown was the scariest moment for me in that game. It's going to be difficult. Because even if I'm watching it, right, and I say, you know what, man, this feels like a Brock game, the statistics need to be there. Rushing was great. Over 8 yards per pass attempt was great. But if Brock Purdy would have thrown that Eli Mitchell touchdown, instead of Eli running it in, if Purdy would have thrown that touchdown, I think everybody would agree that Brock Purdy was the most valuable player in that game. But he only threw one, right? And that's how the conversation goes. But it's also the fact that Brock is going to be going head-to-head with McCaffrey, potentially. And you look right now, anytime touchdown score markets are posted here, minus 210 CMC. Now, that's much lower than we're used to on McCaffrey, okay? And he's plus 290 to score twice. The game against Green Bay, different spreads. He was plus 150 to score twice. You're seeing a big difference there, but the point is, if McCaffrey hits that 2+ touchdown bell, that would be big. What works in my favor is 3 consecutive games of 2+ touchdowns is incredibly difficult to do. Even if this is an incredible running back on a great offense, getting high-level touches, right? It is still difficult to do that. I'm happy to have the Brock Purdy number. I don't know if I'm going to work off of it or just let it ride. Odds are I will just let it go. I mentioned the touchdown scoring markets, and it'll be interesting to watch how these things move. Pacheco's minus 135, though. Pacheco has scored in so far each of these games. We know he's going to get opportunities. But I will say, typically the Niners have, and I guess it's just the way it works, they've allowed far more passing touchdowns than rushing touchdowns. What we saw at Detroit, right? The 42-yard rush for Jameson Williams, and then Gibbs and Montgomery each got one. I feel like that could be a factor of it there with that Pacheco number. Kelsey's at plus 100. That ticket, if it does cash, I guess for him, you never know. As long as it's a receiving touchdown, he will become the leader for most playoff receiving touchdowns and very likely cash inside that market. Rashee Rice plus 145, plus 150 on Brandon Ayuk. I can't imagine Deebo Samuel hangs around plus 170 for long. I don't know how much these touchdown markets will move throughout the week. Deebo at another spot, though, is plus 135. Deebo got a red zone rush again. So that's why Deebo gets just so tempting. And he was absolutely wonderful in that football game yesterday. But Deebo at plus 175 really does jump off the page, or plus 170 rather, when you talk anytime touchdowns. No value on Mahomes, plus 350. That number is not chopped in half, but close to it, based on what we saw from his numbers earlier in this postseason there. And then you really start to get into that long shot category. The defensive touchdowns are plus 650 and plus 750 Niners, and then Chiefs respectively. 8-1 when you start to look at Brock Purdy. And another very popular market is always the passing touchdown prompts. Both bettable. Mahomes minus 140, but still, for Mahomes, that is relatively light, coming off of not hitting this against Baltimore. And then Purdy's minus 110. And I'm telling you right now, the big reason for that Brock Purdy number is not the Chiefs' defense. It's a part of it, but it's not the big reason. It's not the Chiefs' defense. It's not anything to do with wrong with Brock. It is the fact that McCaffrey kept running it in, has now two rushing touchdown games, and then Eli Mitchell put one in. But we'll do these throughout. I will tell you this now. You will get Super Bowl picks from me starting tomorrow on this show here. You will start to get props because we know these numbers are going to move. Obviously, we have all week out in Las Vegas. We have the Sunday setup show. But when I bet it, I want you to be able to be involved with it because the anticipation is things will move. And one of the things I'll be diving into tonight and heading into tomorrow, and I've already started to look at, is the Brock Purdy 1.5 passing touchdowns. Because he hasn't hit it now in both playoff games. The team totals 20. This team scores 30 a game. The Super Bowl is going to be fun. This is going to be 2 weeks of me believing in Brock Purdy with 2 weeks of everybody else telling me it's Mahomes on the other side. I look forward to it. It's going to be an absolute war. It's going to be an absolute battle. Cannot wait. Coach James Young back in the mix next. More NBA picks, including the bound man himself. You didn't even know about that. That's next.
The Chargers have the 5th pick in the National Football League draft. There's a lot of different like roads that they could take with this pick. And for the record as well, there's a few sports books out there already that already have next year's Super Bowl numbers up. The Chargers are like 30-1. So there's a lot of work to do.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices, and we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev.
Go run, run, run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
So right now, he's a little bit more over money, but he's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division
I don't care if they win, because all we care about is the money, baby. The money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
This will not end well in Milwaukee. They will flame out, there will be problems, and we will see what happens of who's the next domino to go. Does Giannis just sign an extension, ask out after a year? Do they move on from Dame? Or do they start blowing up some of the other guys, Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis, so on and so forth? it'll be worth watching.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
We got one of the best games of the year, Warren, on Sunday night as the Chiefs are now headed back to a 6th championship game. An extremely fun, clean game, and then the hijinks ensue.
And I thought it was just irresponsible for him to take that deep shot into the end zone. I talked a lot about it on X. I thought that they should have hit that underneath route to Diggs. He was wide open. It would have been easily a first down.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
He feels like he's got unfinished business, right? He won the national championship, did what he said he wanted to do going back to Ann Arbor.
And, he coached, I think, with the Raiders as an assistant and then got the job with the Niners and then went to title games, went to Super Bowls, lost to his brother. And I think you're right, unfinished business, go back, try to win a Super Bowl.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
73 points for Luka Doncic. Joel Embiid scored 70 and somebody beat him in the same week. That's incredible.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, the only streaming sports betting network. Tips, info, and insights to up your IQ. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back. Game Time Decisions. It is a Monday night. Coach James Young is in the mix. JY, we're happy to have you. We're live with the Vatek Duke game. I know you're in the mix there. And I know you want to get in the mix with Bound Man himself. That is Jonas Valanciunas. And for those that don't know, Joe Lisi once gave me a call. He was going through his picks on the NBA, the Sizzle plays, and said, I got this Valanciunas 12-plus bounds. And it's one of my favorite things, and I'm pretty sure he has bet him for 12-plus bounds every night since. I'm not sure it has hit once. That isn't the point, though, because tonight it's points plus bounds. JY, what do you like?
I like Jonas Valanciunas over 20.5 points plus bounds tonight. 11 out of his last 14 games, 4 of the last 5 versus matchups with Porzingis. Here's the thing. He should be able to try and bully ball inside, and they're going to need him to rebound and kind of keep this game close. Obviously, Porzingis not in, but I think this is a spot where he could play well and probably get after Al Horford. Luke Cornett, sorry, ain't scaring me or anybody else. Jonas Valanciunas, points plus bounds over 20.5 tonight.
You're not scared of Luke Cornett? That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm more
stunning.
scared of Luke Clarinet. If he was a Luke Clarinet, I'll be more scared of.
All right. I don't know who that is. I have no idea who that is. All right, JY, let's keep moving here. You're on the Sixers, but I imagine the Embiid thing is a disaster. What is your thought here?
Oh, why is he not playing tonight? Is this because now we're trying to say that he was injured and he got put in the injury report 15 minutes before the game Saturday night? I don't care. Portland's been better. I know. It's crazy. I'm going to do it. I'm still taking the Sixers minus the points. I know Portland's been better. They played better as of late. But I still got to trust this Philadelphia team's going to go out there and get a win. Give me the Sixers minus the points. No JoJo. Maxey goes for about 9,000 points.
Maxey goes for about 9,000. So the number's not moved that much, JY. It's 8.5. So you lost out on a point. I will say, so I just did the whole Embiid thing. I'll just say this. The world where the Sixers have said, okay, you know what's better than not getting it's better to not get fined. Embiid, this is probably going to cost you the MVP award, but how about you miss the Portland game? He's down to plus 430. I believe he has 5 games left. Mm-hmm. This is a bad spot, man. It's a bad spot. What about the Mavs, Coach? I believe Kyrie is, or do you want to get, go ahead. Your thoughts on Embiid missing this weekend and again tonight?
Well, I wish he would have played. I think obviously he was, plus 120, plus 130 before Saturday, and he's moved this much. The key number is Kevin gave me a number. I'll give you a number. That's 5. Philadelphia has 5 more back-to-backs left this season. So that is something to keep in mind of. And obviously, Kevin, you're going to see this as he goes through the back-to-backs and plays. You'll see the odds shift and shift dramatically. It all comes down to this. How much does this really mean to Embiid, right? He's got the MVP. What should matter to JoJo? It's a championship. So I would dare say that maybe that's motivation, but he is a historian. So I don't know, Kevin.
Yeah, look, here's the thing, Coach, right? Here's the thing. The fact that he is now missing this game again against Portland, right? You cannot say he's ducking Jokic because he is damn sure not ducking DeAndre Ayton. He is well aware of the game minimum. The fact that he's missing both of these games, maybe he is then actually injured, okay? And that he probably is, because it would be very stupid to miss 2 more games if you're not injured. Especially if he would have just played Denver and beat Denver, he'd have been about minus 200. But we are going to get to a point, and this is why Jokic keeps getting his number cut in half every time Embiid misses a game. But I am not, and I have like a preseason, like I just put a boost on. I didn't talk Jokic bet. So actually, if he won the MVP, that'd be fine. It's not the point. But we are close to Jokic, or Embiid rather, being off the board. Not long shot. Not having odds listed. Which makes the value then, for me, win or loss, every person behind him. That's where I'm at right now in the market, Coach. Like, Giannis tonight. I'm on Giannis tonight. You can talk to me about your Jokic pick. If Giannis tonight goes to Denver and abuses that team, we've seen him do this, 45, 15, and 5, all of a sudden, the conversations are going to be, man, the Bucks are terrible, but Giannis is dragging them to the 3rd best record in basketball. That's what the conversation's going to become. Giannis gets interesting in this race to me if he goes out there and is dominant tonight against Denver.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great performance by both of them. I think I like the Joker to get a triple-double. I just think it's a bad match for Brook Lopez coming outside.
Right.
Drop coverage, shoot the 3. Now you're going to come out, sight lines, Bobby Portis too small. So I think he gets going. I think there's a couple of things that should be talked about. Number one, SGA has moved to second at plus 360. Huge matchup tonight with them and Minnesota. If he wins and goes off, and they end up with the best record in the West, can SGA steal the MVP? Ready, folks? Because the NBA voters have voter fatigue at times. That's why LeBron should have won like 8 MVPs, right? Shaq should have won a ton. Jordan should have won a ton. They start like saying, this guy won too much. Does SGA play himself into a chance of winning MVP? And another thing I just noticed is, I know he's not going to win it. I just noticed that FanDuel has taken down Jalen Brunson's props to win MVP. Now, he's not going to win it. There's no chance he wins it. But I'm wondering what happens now that Randall is out. If he continues this tear, where does he pop out of the ass? Does he get to the Tatum category at 60-1? Durant, I think he was at 200-1 before the injury. So I'm not saying Brunson's going to win it. I'm just saying FanDuel and these companies are pulling guys on and off based on not just injuries of players, but injuries of teammates as well.
Yeah, I had someone. You know what? I'm not gonna. Brunson's been playing well, man. What do you like in the Houston game?
I like the Houston Cougars minus 5.5. Yeah. Listen, K-Dub and I went and we got beat up a couple weeks ago. I think it was Iowa State, right?
Don't tell people about Houston. That. They forgot.
Right, that's right.
Don't tell people about that.
But they're playing better. Their defense has dialed it up, and I do think this is a spot for Houston where they start to get busy here. And I think Texas is, I know they had some wins. I think they're vastly overrated. Both teams play slow. Houston plays better at it and they defend better. Give me Houston -5.5 on the road at Texas.
I'm a bit tempted by the total towards the over in that game. I've not found myself involved just yet. We will see. All right, look, I'll just say this. Jalen Brunson has been awesome. He has been awesome. But I had someone reach out to me like, hey, you think he's going to win MVP? How about you vote for him to win the All? How about you vote for him to be an All-Star instead of asking me that question? Okay. How about you don't let New York, the Mecca of basketball, I am proudly from, but I'm not a Knicks fan. Okay. How about you don't lose the fan vote? Okay, when you have the more deserving player to Milwaukee's Damian Lillard. How about that? Okay. Then you can talk to me about Brunson winning MVP.
I agree with you. I agree with you. Listen, Kevin, it makes sense. It makes sense. New York has to stop this yelling and screaming about bias and step up where it counts. He better be a starting All-Star game next year, or else, or it's all our fault.
He won't be. He won't be. So it won't be. He won't be.
The Chargers have the 5th pick in the National Football League draft. There's a lot of different like roads that they could take with this pick. And for the record as well, there's a few sports books out there already that already have next year's Super Bowl numbers up. The Chargers are like 30-1. So there's a lot of work to do.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices, and we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev.
Go run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
Right now, he's a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division favorite.
I don't care if they win, because all we care about is the money, baby. The money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
This will not end well in Milwaukee. They will flame out. There will be problems, and we will see what happens of who's the next domino to go. Does Giannis, who just signed an extension, ask out after a year? Do they move on from Dame? Or do they start blowing up some of the other guys, Brooke Lopez, Bobby Portis, so on and so forth? It'll be worth watching.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
We got one of the best games of the year, Warren, on Sunday night as the Chiefs are now headed back to a 6th championship game. An extremely fun, clean game, and then the hijinks ensue.
And I thought it was just irresponsible for him to take that deep shot into the end zone. I talked a lot about it on X. I thought that they should have hit that underneath route to Diggs. He was wide open. It would have been easily a first down.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
He feels like he's got unfinished business, right? He won the national championship, did what he said he wanted to do going back to Ann Arbor.
And, he coached, I think, with the Raiders as an assistant and then got the job with the Niners and then went to title games, went to Super Bowls, lost to his brother. And I think you're right, unfinished business, go back, try to win a Super Bowl.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
73 points for Luka Doncic. Joel Embiid scored 70 and somebody beat him in the same week. That's incredible.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, the only streaming sports betting network. Tips, info, and insights to up your IQ. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Coach is here still, which we appreciate. Coach James Young, I'm Kevin Walsh. We are live with you on what are you doing? We're live with you on a Monday. What's wrong with you, man? This guy, JY, gets so much energy. You got to appreciate it, though. JY, did you take a peek at anything on the College Board non-ranked? It's not even really big at all. I was just curious if there was. Everybody loves this McNeese team. The Will Wade group, 18-2, 7-0 in the Southland. Everybody loves this basketball team.
Yeah, I took them a couple of weeks ago and I got burned. So you know what? I went. Coach went diving to the MEAC. Howard -8 versus Coppin State. I know Coppin State is 7-3 against the spread their last 10. I know Howard is 1-7 or 3-7 against the spread their last 10. I just think this is a spot where they're a much better team. Some of the games line up. I did like Howard, the Bison, -8 on the road at Coppin State.
I got another question for you, college basketball-wise. Because it hasn't been talked about in a while. But Edie is -750 to win the Wooden. Do you think there's any chance that he does? Obviously, the odds say. Do you think there's any chance someone could knock him off? Connect had another big game for Tennessee. Is there anyone, Coach?
No. I mean, listen, it's what I've been amazed about, Kevin, with Zach Edey is I've found him this year to be more nimble and better defensively. I know this doesn't really help him win an award. I thought he was a big stiff for a while. I must say, their pin down, get the ball to the middle of the floor, go over your left shoulder, jump hook is the dominating play in college basketball. He's going to win it. But when it comes down to Purdue, we know it. You know it. I know it. It's Smith and the rest of the guards. Can they hit enough shots in the tournament? Because if they don't, it doesn't matter. They'll get knocked out of the first or second round anyway.
Yeah, it's one of those things, JY, just when a number's that strong, I'm always curious if there's value. If you look at his next 6 games, though, right, there's only 2 road games. It's Wisconsin, which is going to be a test, and Ohio State. The home games are Northwestern, Indiana, Minnesota, Rutgers. The way that shapes up, basically, is it's 5 games they should win. Being 5-0 wouldn't be surprising in it. And all they got to do is, if they beat Wisconsin, that's probably the nail in the coffin. But we'll see. I'll ask you this quickly, Coach, before I let you go. Have you added any national title futures, Final Four, conference outrights, college basketball-wise?
Well, I think, obviously, to me, I still think the national champion, to me, is going to be UConn. They've been completely different since Donovan Clingan has been back. I saw them at Villanova in an absolute war. But I do think, we talked about it with Houston, I think they're coming. I really think they're coming. I think they're going to be better. I'm not a big believer in Tennessee. Auburn has struggled on the road, so I can't really get with them. But the other one is Kev, with those guards, 20-1 with Kentucky. You got to consider it, because it's guard play wins championships. And who's got a better stable of guards that can score and shoot the ball than Cal? Why may not do it? Experience. Why may they do it? They could be the most talented team in the country. 20-1 Kentucky. Very enticing by that. Those odds to win the national championship.
Yeah. Time will tell, Coach. We appreciate it, as always. That is Coach James Young with a ton of picks coming up. Stepping up and in, though, here for us on a Monday night, our man Joe Ranieri. Joe, how are you?
Happy Monday. Monday fun day, apparently, here. What's going on? I'm still trying to get my bearings after watching Detroit and Baltimore throw up all over themselves 24 hours ago. But, hey, it should be a great 2 weeks of Taylor Swift, I guess. There's always that.
You know what? I'm going the other way. I'm in on Taylor Swift. I'm in on it. Why are people so upset? I'm in on it. I've decided. Why she's a star, right? She ends up on the TV for 4 seconds. What's the beef?
Yeah, listen, I have no doubt that she makes the NFL a whole lot of money. But it's all about growing the brand, right? So football fans that have been diehard football fans could care less if Taylor Swift was on the screen as much as she is on the screen during these playoffs and the season. But if it attracts new viewers, hey, the NFL's all for it. I tend to throw up a little bit when I see her.
You know what? I think they need to stop showing her after only like good Kelsey stuff. I need a little box like when the Chiefs go 3 and out, and I want to see what's going on. Like I actually think we don't get enough Taylor Swift on these broadcasts. Let me ask you this, Ranieri, with the Ravens-Chiefs game. I don't know if I am just accepting that I'm going to be a curmudgeon, like 100% by the time I hit like 40, however it's going to break out. But a lot of people, if you don't know what the score is, but you listen to the conversation around Chiefs-Ravens, I cannot believe Mahomes threw for 350, 3 touchdowns, and scored 35 in Baltimore. That's the conversation. But I've never bet against Mahomes again. That's not what happened in the game. They were brilliant in the first half. They did nothing the whole second half. And the Ravens panicked in a way that they acted like they were down 24 the whole game. It is one of the most stunning approaches to play calling I've ever seen in my life. I'm sorry, my takeaway is not anything to do with Kansas City. It's Todd Monken, after a great year, should be on the hot seat.
They should all be on the hot seat, including, not for nothing, but Harbaugh. How did you allow that to be the game plan? I have no idea. Listen, if the game plan was live by Lamar, die by Lamar, oh, all right. If you were all sold into that, obviously there was a collective meltdown among the thinking there in the brain trust, but it looked like that's what your plan was, that we were either going to live or die about whether Lamar could throw the ball, and we're going to get away from the running game because maybe you think Kansas City is going to be geared up and waiting for that. I don't know. They haven't stopped the run all year, but maybe if that was the thought process, great. But I don't think that was. I think that was they got punched in the mouth right off the bat like Mahomes and company does. And I'm with you. I think panic set in quickly with this group who, quite honestly, I'm not a big fan of the whole take the last week off, have the bye, let it be 3. This, outside of a second half against a average at best defense with the Houston Texans, this is not the same team we saw in week 14, 15, 16, and 17. Sorry. They lost it somewhere along the line there with 2 to 3 weeks off, I guess.
Yeah, I think that stuff always gets really interesting, Joe. And I'm not saying you are. The reason I don't is I'm almost thinking like lets them off the hook, right? You know what I mean? Like I'm not saying, but it's sort of like the rest thing. They threw so the first. I
don't even think it's rest. I think it's they lost the edge. The edge that Kansas City clearly had, they have had all the way down the stretch, right? I don't know how to quantify experience. You hear people talk about it all the time. I don't know how to quantify having the ring, having been there. It obviously means something because the Kansas City Chiefs we have seen now is not the Kansas City Chiefs we saw during the regular season. And yet, when it was showtime, they flipped the switch. Very few teams can do that, especially ones that have never been there or done that, like Baltimore. But there was a flip. That switch was flipped, and Kansas City has been everything we remembered them to be over the last 4 to 5 years.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Their offense has these stretches. But here's the incredible thing is I don't know. So the Niners have now won 2 games in the fashion that the Mahomes dynasty was built on, right? Be down. This game is dead. Yep. Oh, my God, how'd they win it? But the takeaway for the Niners, who the old critique on the Niners was they can't win if they get down. Mm-hmm. Then they win 2 in a row getting down, and people go, see, frauds, playoffs, they can't. I don't know what's going on. Like, I just think I really believe, and I get it, because he is truly, at this point, at minimum, the second best quarterback of all time. Mahomes has everyone in such a pretzel that
Yep.
Nobody can break anything down coherently, is how it almost feels to me. Like, the Niners, Joe, should be getting praise. They were down 17 in a conference championship game. It was tied before the fourth quarter.
Yep. Well, the 49, it's two totally different paths, right? You're watching the Kansas City Chiefs dismantle teams along the way to get to the Super Bowl like we have seen before. And I think that goes hand in hand with the game's greatest always deliver when the moment is the biggest. All right. We've just spent two decades getting rid of Tom Brady and Belichick, but that's what they represented. That is what Mahomes and Andy Reid represent. The 49ers just won 2 games, not because of how great they are, but because the 2 teams that they played to get here literally shot themselves in the foot beyond recognition, and they were able to take advantage of it. 2 very different paths to get to this game coming up.
Yep, and we now get to a game where the odds maker said, all right, we have to acknowledge people are going to want to bet the Chiefs. We'll make it only 3.
Yes.
And then an hour later went, oh, my God.
Okay. Almost pick. Our bad.
Yep.
And Joe, I look forward to talking to you about that game throughout the build-up. Dave Sharapan's in the mix now.
The Chargers have the 5th pick in the National Football League draft. There's a lot of different like roads that they could take with this pick. And for the record as well, there's a few sports books out there already that already have next year's Super Bowl numbers up. The Chargers are like 30-1. So there's a lot of work to do.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices, and we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev.
Go run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
So right now, we saw a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division
I
favorite.
don't care if they win, because all we care about is the money, baby. The money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
This will not end well in Milwaukee. They will flame out. There will be problems, and we will see what happens of who's the next domino to go. Does Giannis, who just signed an extension, ask out after a year? Do they move on from Dame? Or do they start blowing up some of the other guys, Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis, so on and so forth? It'll be worth watching.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
We got one of the best games of the year, Warren, on Sunday night as the Chiefs are now headed back to a 6th championship game. An extremely fun, clean game, and then the hijinks ensue.
And I thought it was just irresponsible for him to take that deep shot into the end zone. I talked a lot about it on X. I thought that they should have hit that underneath route to Diggs. He was wide open. It would have been easily a first down.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
He feels like he's got unfinished business, right? He won the national championship, did what he said he wanted to do, going back to Ann Arbor.
And, he coached, I think, with the Raiders as an assistant, and then got the job with the Niners, and then went to title games, went to Super Bowls, lost to his brother. And I think you're right, unfinished business, go back, try to win a Super Bowl.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
73 points for Luka Doncic. Joel Embiid scored 70 and somebody beat him in the same week. That's incredible.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, the only streaming sports betting network. Tips, info, and insights to up your IQ. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Where to begin? It's going to be a busy one. Dave Sharapan is with me here. Kevin Walsh on Game Time Decisions. Consig, first of all, how are you? And is that early Super Bowl gear?
Oh, yeah, we got a guy. We got all the gear.
Wow.
We're ready to go.
Stop with a guy.
We got a guy.
Stop with a guy.
Done. It's already done.
Stop with a guy.
There's
no way you needed a guy to get that.
Well, I mean, I had to get all the advanced stuff. Yeah, I got multiple. Right. I got multiple hats. Right. Look, this is it. We got the hats. We got the gear.
I like that one.
I asked you for
That's
the
sharp.
size. You didn't give me the size. I told you I'd have you all set up when you landed. Just deliver the package.
No, it's all right. We'll make it happen. All right, where do I begin?
Please go.
Do you want to have? You know what? I want to do something to blow your mind for a minute, just because I know you will appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
I have an NBA card tonight. All right.
Big
I got
card,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 picks. All right.
Let's go.
Hold on. 6 picks, 2 sides.
Yep.
Right? 4 player props. 3 of the player props are to the over. 1 is to the under. Who do you think that under is on?
Someone in the Milwaukee-Denver game. No,
really think. If I'm making a point to bring this up, who's that under on tonight?
Lakers in Houston?
Who's that under on?
No.
25.5.
What?
Most unbiased man in the history of sports media, Dave. I've been saying it. People don't believe me. LeBron under the 25.5 points.
Are we not expecting a lot of minutes played? Are we expecting a blowout? Why? What is the thinking here? This is
all right. Now
shocking.
I'm going to give people
It's good.
I'm going to give people my research, but then Dave's cap on it is also very important. Okay, He has 12 30-point games. He's coming off of the 12th. That means he's played 11 games after scoring 30. Only twice has he followed that up with more than 25. That's 9 and 2 to the under. On this prop, he averages 20.5 points per game when he's coming off of a 30-point performance. Never has he gone over 25.5 on the road after coming off of a 30-point game.
See, that was the first follow-up question. Did you do the home road splits? You already did, because this is what you do. You don't just scratch the surface. You go a little bit deep. This is what happens. Listen, I knew you were all business today when that top button was buttoned. I like this a lot.
Told you.
Okay? And people will say that K-Dub always comes with the Lakers, mojo up, over, LeBron, apologist, all these things. People have said it to me. I've heard it, all over the place. I like it. I like it a lot. That was a hell of a game Saturday night. That was unbelievable.
Whoa, what a game.
What a game.
That still has it.
Late night for you, but, man, that was something else. How does he follow that up? Probably with about an 18-point effort for you, under.
18-7-5, and I'll be blaming the whole thing on AD. Okay, one more NBA question, then we'll get off of this. Embiid is down to 5-1 to an MVP. Why? Missed the game Saturday, missed the game tonight. Here's my question to you, though, right? We used to have conversations where it's like, yeah, these awards move if a guy comes in and does this. We're at a point now, these awards, I don't feel like they wait for anybody. Like, these books get the information, and they got to move it themselves. Otherwise, they're going to get smashed.
I saw it today. We were doing Bostonian versus the book. It came across the screen on the television behind my cameras and stuff. It said he's out. And I thought, well, if I was in a room, we're going right to 10-1. Whatever it is, we're going to 10-1. We're going to get all of the Embiid money that we can right now, not because he can't win it, because we're going to gamble on the injury, right? I mean, or the sitting or whatever it is. With this requirement now for the games played thing, it adds a whole new dynamic into the handicap and the actual getting to the window. And if you can't get to the window because he can't get on the court, we better we better get some bets on him right now, because the next game he misses, exponentially we have to move the number. Everyone, I mean, is this going to be the last game he misses? No, it might be the last game he misses this week, but that's a tough spot. It's a bad look, K-Dub. I don't like it, because when JoJo plays, man, I was in Philly, watched that 70 game. I didn't go to the game to see him and Wembanyama play, but I wanted to. And I wanted to see him Saturday night against Jokic and didn't get to see it.
No, yeah.
stinks.
But look, it's one of those things, like he follows it up with the missed game. It suggests then that he's just too injured, which means he's not going to cross the finish line. Again, it makes for interesting stuff. All right, the football. What have you made? Because we can go backwards, but I want to go forwards. They dropped Niners -3. That's what all the hypotheticals were. This game got pushed down to 1. Yep. Now a lot of 1.5s. What have you made of the way the Super Bowl line has moved?
One of the most fun experiences that I ever had working in the book was working the night that the championship games were decided and the Super Bowl matchup came out. You sit and yell at each other in the room, go back and forth. What do you make it? And you already have the hypotheticals, barring any injuries or any surprises that you see that Sunday. You go put it up and see what they do with it. Some books put up 3, some books put up 2.5. San Francisco's favored, despite the fact that, the Chiefs have gone on the road twice and won, and that Patrick Mahomes is still Patrick Mahomes. He's tremendous. San Francisco has to be the favorite. So all of the people that are going, I can't believe the Chiefs aren't favored, pause. It can't be favored. There's no power ratings that say the Chiefs are favored yet, okay? And I don't think there will be. They take the opening number. Any 2.5s, gone. The 3 immediately gone, vaporized. Went down to 1 today. And we had on my buddy Jeff Benson today at Circa. And while we were on with him, they got the bet, a limit play at -1. And what's going to come out in here in Vegas is the West Coast money from San Francisco. They come and drop 100,000. If you're you got 13 days to book the last football game of the season. The limits today are 100,000. They got the bet. So 1 was the bottom. It's going back up or sitting there for at least a week.
So I think, right, what we see, look, if the Chiefs become a favorite, it'll be like what you kind of told me about this. Like a book will flip the Chiefs a favorite to like almost make the headlines, right? Like, we're the book that made the Chiefs the favorite. They'll just live with it. They're here, but this game will never be outside of a field goal. Right?
Oh, no.
We'll never see 3 again, either side of it, right?
Nope.
So basically, I think what's going to happen is every Chief bettor in the world is going to have plus points, and most Niners bettors will have the money line, right? So we're going to enter this game, and what cannot happen is this thing finish 28-27 San Francisco.
1
right?
would be very bad. Yeah, for the books. That would be no good. That would be no good at all. I mean, if you get a 1-point middle in the bowl, that's not gonna bode well for a lot of guys that I know in the business in February vacations. Things leading up to March Madness aren't going to be good. What you have to consider in this situation, it's the last game of the year, and you have gigantic futures liabilities, gigantic future positions. They can book the game however they'd like, and like Jeff said, their biggest liability was the Ravens, and that's gone. It's a black number for them. It doesn't matter who wins. They're cushioned on both sides. So we can lean this way, we can lean that way, and get to whatever position we want. So this is the fun of the Super Bowl, in addition to the props and all the other stuff. Having a position without a football game until next August with the biggest handle and the most eyes on it, let alone here in Las Vegas, absolute dream.
So here's something that I'm going to get into a bunch of arguments, and it's fine. I'm built for it.
You like arguments.
I don't want to hear that the Chiefs are dogs. I don't care what that line says. I don't want to hear anybody tell me that nobody believes in them, that everybody thinks they're going to lose. I'm eventually going to snap. I don't think you should be allowed to use the 10-1-1 trend about Mahomes as a dog. I don't care. 97% of these bets are on the Chiefs. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I don't. I could care. The game is pick. That's how I don't know. If this thing was 3, it'd be fine. The books hung the number. Let's be honest. They hung a discounted number. Everybody knows it. And they still got beat to smithereens by people betting on Mahomes. That's what happened. The books think this game should probably be about 6. In their hearts. In their hearts.
Probably over a field goal. But listen.
Certainly over a field
goal. Listen, the last 2 weeks, San Francisco's defense has looked vulnerable. The Packers went into San Francisco and ran. Yesterday, the Lions in the first half ran right at them, right through them.
Yeah.
You know, so I think some things might have been exposed in the two games. Now we have 2 weeks to talk about it, which is a long 2 weeks. I would just as soon talk about Duke and Virginia Tech, or tonight, Texas hosting Houston in college baskets. We're going to get into that. NBA, you got all this card. This is great. This is when the hoops guys and the hockey guys, the season really starts right now. But for those of us in the business, we've been in it for a couple months. So it's exciting. But I think the seeds of doubt have been planted in some people's eyes, odds makers, book guys, that the Niners can be had defensively. They can be had. Now we'll see if Debo's healthy, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I think so. That's it's. I think their defense was much better against Green Bay than people realized. They kept holding the teams to field goals, the big kick return, 3rd and 15 pass interference. Their defense was dismantled for the first half, and then bowed up, right?
Yeah.
Right? Yep. But it did. And nobody cares about that. But I think what's just so, for me right now, Consig, is the Niners did what everybody said they couldn't do in 2 straight games, right? Like, the only way the Niners could win is if everything was perfect. Everything went wrong for 2 straight weeks, and then they won the game.
Both times.
The old, we've been doing this for longer than I realize now together. The nightmare for the books would be when Mahomes would be down at half and they'd have to make him pick, right? Or down going into the 4th. Yeah. It was always the nightmare, right?
Yeah.
But that's what the Niners just did back. Like, this game is 17-10 at half, Kansas City. Is the game over? Based on what I've seen, no.
I don't think so, but you know that trend. The Chiefs unders, 19-2 this season, right?
Oh, the second half, the craziness. Yeah.
It's inexplicable at this point. They put it on lock. So I don't want to say that it's over, but we have to consider it.
But but the reason those games are going way under 2 in the second half, they don't score.
They don't score.
All.
They have to score in the Super Bowl in the second half, or they're going to lose.
Again, we'll get there when we get there. Let me ask you this quickly, because we're short on time. We have all week to do this, though. How many bets do they take? Conversation, right, it's a Monday, is side, sum total. How much action are they getting on props right now?
None. Minimal. Very few.
Okay.
It's you just start to populate the app. You start to put things up. Out in Vegas, you do it in waves, so you get control of when they play them. But less than 10% of the bets on the props are made the first week. It's all the second week.
Okay. So you know what I take that as? Tonight, tomorrow, folks, we'll get involved with those numbers. We'll get involved. Great stuff, Dave. We'll talk more tomorrow. Best bet on the other side.
The Chargers have the 5th pick in the National Football League draft. There's a lot of different roads that they could take with this pick. And for the record as well, there's a few sports books out there already that already have next year's Super Bowl numbers up. The Chargers are like 30-1. So there's a lot of work to do.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices, and we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev.
Go run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
So right now we saw a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division favorite.
I don't care if they win, because all we care about is the money, baby. The money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
This will not end well in Milwaukee. They will flame out. There will be problems, and we will see what happens of who's the next domino to go. Does Giannis, who just signed an extension, ask out after a year? Do they move on from Dame? Or do they start blowing up some of the other guys, Brooke Lopez, Bobby Portis, so on and so forth? It'll be worth watching.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
We got one of the best games of the year, Warren, on Sunday night as the Chiefs are now headed back to a sixth championship game. An extremely fun, clean game, and then the hijinks ensue.
And I thought it was just irresponsible for him to take that deep shot into the end zone. I talked a lot about it on X. I thought that they should have hit that underneath route to Diggs. He was wide open. It would have been easily a first down.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
He feels like he's got unfinished business, right? He won the national championship, did what he said he wanted to do going back to Ann Arbor.
And, he coached, I think, with the Raiders as an assistant and then got the job with the Niners and then went to title games, went to Super Bowls, lost to his brother. And I think you're right, unfinished business, go back, try to win a Super Bowl.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
73 points for Luka Doncic. Joel Embiid scored 70 and somebody beat him in the same week. That's incredible.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, the only streaming sports betting network. Tips, info, and insights to up your IQ. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We're with you right here on SportsGrid. We're closing it out. Game time decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. It is going to be in-game live coming up next. You've just seen them both. Joe Ranieri, Dave Sharapan. We'll have you covered. Great slate of action tonight. And probably your game of the night in the association belongs to Denver, Milwaukee. And I'm on Giannis, 30-plus points here tonight over the 29.5. Giannis is over this in 12 out of 18 road games this season, including 7 of his last 8 on the road. And Giannis is a step-up guy. Think about the narrative numbers you play when Embiid sees Jokic. How is Giannis not fit the same description? He's hit this in 3 out of his last 5 that he's gone head-to-head with Jokic, including both games in Denver. I really like this spot for Giannis here. Think you could potentially even be interested in those alts. The worry would be the world where this Bucks team is really bad and gets routed. I think they step up here and are playing into the fourth quarter with their starters, which is all I need here for Giannis to give us 30-plus points. Elsewhere in the association, we've talked about it. How does he do it? LeBron under the 25.5 points coming off of a 30-point game, 9-2 to the under of a would-be prop at 25.5. Never hit it on the road. Least unbiased man in the history of sports media. I mean, someone's got to say it. Nobody else is. I will. Give me the over 223 in OKC and Minnesota. This number dropping far too much since the last meeting, which was only a week ago. We've seen it start to climb a little bit as well with SGA and Anthony Edwards going head-to-head. I'm excited to watch that one play out. Is there anything else that is coming up that I'm missing? It's possible. What are we live with right now? We've got the Durant number live. I don't know. He might be doing a soft retirement. That guy's not shooting. Did he score another one? No, he's got only 2 points. We'll see what's going on with KD. Pels plus the points. Cavs plus the points. Those are out there and in the mix. And we'll keep tabs late night on that Houston-Texas game. Could have some juice, but time will tell. That's going to do it for us on Game Time Decisions. Appreciate everybody who's been with us here for the past 2 hours. Again, it is in-game live coming up next on SportsGrid. I'm Kevin Walsh. Best of luck with your bets tonight.